When I think of Western, I think of just hard work.
Accountability.
Family.
Hard work.
Strong, confident women.
Strength.
Determination, setting goals.
Mentoring.
A passion, perseverance.
Legacy.
Family. Love.
The first word that popped in my head is we.
Back in the day, they used to say about how great athletics were for building character for men. And I said, well, if it's so good for building character for men, then it must be good for building character for women. You see these young women who are really wanting to compete and be the best that they can be, and you want to make sure that they get the opportunities that they deserve. So they drive you, and and when they succeed, it's all worth it.
There's a lot of people who have worked very hard in this program, and so when you do put on a Western uniform, you have to wear it with pride. You're wearing a Western uniform, you better get it done.
You know, practices every day, 2 hours a day, but we're gonna work so hard. And you know that going in, but you know that hard work is just expected. And so that when that bar is set that high, you just have to meet it.
I had Linda as my athletic director. I knew what she did, but not fully, of how far women have come and we have come. But just that idea that how amazing this tradition of the program, coming into something and being a part of something bigger than you, and is even though we weren't here at the exact same time, we are lifelong friends and we always will be, and we kind of have that to keep us together. So it's pretty special.
The program has been a success since the late 60s, early 70s, and I think what happens here and the types of individuals that they graduate from here, the student athletes, the experiences that people have here is always one that will really improve their life.
Well, obviously we all like to win or we wouldn't be here, and so, definitely that's something that we strive for, but I think it's about being together and it's about growing. And it is we. It's not about the coaches. It's not about the All-Americans. It's about every single person who's put on a Western uniform.
It was a little challenging for me at first, and Carmen and I had a lot of one-on-ones, to help me get through that, and Lori did too. Those two were just amazing at helping me get through, those late teens, early 20s, and away from my family for the very first time. And it did not take a very long time for me to understand that this family was going to be behind me through all these ups and downs that I was about to go through for my entire existence at Western Washington. And I'll tell you what, it helped me not just, come out of my shell, release the character in me that I wasn't really sure was there, and help develop skill sets that I use every day in my life today.
What has always stood out is what I experience when I go to the banquets at the end of the year. The young women who've played, now they're seniors and they're given an opportunity to speak, but they don't speak about basketball. They speak about leadership, and they talk about what they've learned.
Go Vikings!
As I kind of went through college with that structure of basketball and, whether that be in the schoolroom or just the expectations on the court, I think that really helped me form a very disciplined, hardworking young woman. Without basketball, I don't know how I could have gotten through college and stayed on top of everything.
Before my junior year, I tore my ACL, and so I had to take a year off, and I redshirted. That year was so good for me to be a teammate, put others before myself, take responsibility for the things that I'd done wrong, and I feel like that encompasses a lot of the stuff that Western's about.
Some of my fondest memories are just the relationships I made, with some of my best friends for life, working for Carmen, playing for Carmen. She just taught me what it is to be a strong woman and to juggle all of life's priorities and do it with grace. And I just have her to thank for so much.
When I think of Western, I think of just hard work. Work ethic is what we learned from Carmen, and Lori DeCover was my coach at the time. Working hard, giving 100%. We may not have been as skilled as the other teams that we played, but we always worked harder than everybody else, and that was kind of the goal of playing at Western, and I think that's carried over in life as well.
When I was a senior and co-captain with Gina Sampson, and we won the regional championship at Western. We hosted it and we won it. And I will never forget standing there holding that trophy with her and looking around at the stands and seeing how full it was, and just reflecting on the support that we had from not just the entire athletic department, but the community as well. It's a highlight and a feeling that I'll never forget, actually. So a lot of hard work that paid off, and a lot of ups and downs that we went through for those 4 years, and every bit of it was worth it. So I remember that.
Back then the players drove through snowstorms and everything else. We drove all the way to Montana, and we just have it was great time with camaraderie with people with a lot of different personalities and things, but we really meshed together on the floor. And I think that's what you learn, is how to, appreciate people's strengths and their weaknesses, and how to try to make it where you can have a vision and get to that end point together. And just a lot of great memories. I'm not real excited about ever seeing a Hotel 6 or a Denny's again. We spent many times there, but we had some good dance parties afterwards with I Will Survive and Brick House. And every time I hear that song, I start bebopping a little bit and laughing and smiling and remembering the wonderful times we had.
House. I like Lady Stack, that's a fact. Ain't holding nothing back. Ow, she's a brick.
Carmen really didn't get technical fouls very often. I probably was more inclined to, because my mouth was a little more naughtier than hers, but she did. In this one game, she got a technical foul. It was an away game. I think it was at a California school or something. She got a technical foul, and the game kind of went on, and she got a second one. And she told the guy, she said, as she's towering over him, because she's very tall, "You have short man syndrome." And he said, "You're gone," and he kicked her out. And so she had to leave the gym, and then I was left coaching. And we were trying to win the game and everything, but Carmen was looking through the door off to my left, and I could feel her presence totally, and basically trying to coach through the door, because you could just see these little windows and her little face peeking through, and her doing little signals and stuff. And so it was a little distracting, to say the least, but she was still able to kind of get her point across, even though she was kicked out of the gym.
I remember my first year coaching. I think it was either my first or second year coaching.
My recruiting trip, I went to a game. Carmen was the head coach.
I was at Seattle U.
And it's a quaint gym. The crowd was fairly close by.
And the officials were not very good.
And of course, the officials were not calling the game in the way that they should, and we were starting to get a little annoyed with that.
People started throwing things on the floor because they were frustrated at the officials.
Carmen was up on her feet and starting to get very annoyed with it.
I had high shoes on, and I turned and I kicked off paper that was on the floor.
And she got so mad, in fact, that she stamped her foot and kicked her foot in the air.
She got so angry with the officials that she turned and kicked her leg.
And her beautiful high-heeled shoe flew off and into the crowd.
And her shoe went flying into the stands.
And hit a lady on the shoulder.
The funny thing was, her reaction to that is she absolutely just turned around and sat down on the bench and didn't say a thing from there forward.
And she iced her arm the rest of the game.
And then we looked a couple minutes later, and the lady in the crowd had an ice pack on her shoulder because she had injured her shoulder so bad. So fortunately, somebody did return the shoe back to Carmen, and then it's basically as if that never happened.
So that I remember being funny.
What's your most surprising memory of Linda as a coach?
Most surprising memory? I probably can't say on tape, so let's see. Probably a surprising memory is that, she is really intense, and she used to always talk to us like this with her fingers in the timeouts, and she was really getting the point across, and you're like, wow, she means business. We better get going.
We were at Central Washington University, and we were at dinner, and all of a sudden I come outside after dinner and the bus was gone, and everyone else was gone except for me, and I was like, oh, I got left. And so I'm freaking out. It's snowing, and I see the bus. It's a couple blocks ahead of me, so I start running towards the bus. And every time the bus hits a red light and I'm almost there, it goes green again. So I'm trying to call everybody on my phone, and no one's answering. And Sydney Donaldson finally answered my phone call, and she thought I was playing a prank, from the back of the bus. And she was like, haha, why are you calling me from the back of the bus? And I was like, you left me.
My point guard's Jenny White. I can't even remember what she had done, but I was frustrated with her, and so I had subbed her out of the game at NNU, and I stomped down to the end and got on her a little bit, and probably more than I should have. And so then I turned around and I was gonna sit down next to her, and I was so mad, so I spun around and I was gonna drop down and sit down, and there was no chair, and I fell back into the kind of crowd. And the crowd at NNU is so rude, and they had a really good time with that one too. And I looked at Jenny from the floor, and she kind of had that mortified look, but like also had that look like, maybe you shouldn't have been yelling at me like that. So.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yes, the infamous brawl. It always comes up whenever we talk about our seasons back then. We had a rivalry with Gonzaga, and I have to tell you, I don't like them to this day. I don't care if they're a state team. I don't care if they do well. I am always going to, they're out of my bracket in the first round no matter how good they are, because I do not like them. And here's why. You know, there was the event during the game where their baseball team kind of harassed me on the sidelines, and what they did is they pulled on my shorts, and I turned around and I peg punched them. And I know Linda Goodrich says I slapped their arm away, but actually I took a knuckle like this and I poked him right in the nose to get him to stop bugging me. And I got a technical foul for it, and they said they had to protect the crowd. That's a well-known story. But you know, the whole thing was kind of heating up the whole game and everything, and it was just a kind of a disgusting game. Like, there's just poor sportsmanship, and the officials were bad, and the crowd was harassing us, and sort of what sports are not about. And so at the end of the game, as we were kind of going through to shake hands with the other team, one of them was jumping up and down saying, face, 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 face. And of course, one of our players, Cindy Pansareski, was not going to tolerate that. So she threw a punch, and then there was a big brawl that broke out, and everyone was kind of punching, and the crowd was coming out of the stands, and their baseball team was coming out of the stands, and the administrators were trying to control it. And I was just standing off to the side drinking water because I was just so disgusted by the whole thing. But it was quite an event.
You know, I have a lot of great fond memories, all of them positive. There's a couple times I had some troubles. I remember one time I broke down up in Gym D, and I was so mad at myself, and I had a few tears, and she came over and go, let's go, get up and let's get going, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I got to get over myself and get moving. So, you know, she just was good at that. And I carried that into my coaching. I didn't, you know, it was kind of like, let's go, we can have a few tears and things, but you got to suck it up, and we got to work through this. So
sometimes you suffer defeats, but you can't look back except to learn from it, and then because there's always another game and there's always another day.
Not to get too detailed, but I had thyroid cancer and cervical cancer in the last 10 years. So I honestly don't think I could have been as positive of a person and as kind of like everyone would say, how can you be so positive? Or how are you getting through this so easily? Or why is this not affecting you more? And I honestly think it's from what you learn from playing sports and from athletics, and you learn how to just fight through things and be level-headed, and you know if you work hard for whatever it is you're working for, you'll achieve it, right? So I definitely think it's been a huge blessing for me. So
the last year that our team went to the Final Four, we had this great, amazing team and just super committed girls, and so we had a really tough situation that year is where one of our post players, Erica Ramstead, lost her father. It was so tough for Erica and for all our team because her family had really embraced our team and they were from our community, and so I remember getting the call that she needed to go home from Alaska, and so she flew home and her father passed away, and then a week later she found out that she had a stress fracture in her foot and that she was a senior and that her season was over. And so obviously very devastating for her, and so then here's this girl, and we go over to Central right after all this had happened, and she was so sick. But she came with us, and she was throwing up, pulled herself together, and we went out to the game, and we played the game, and she cheered like crazy. You know, our team was there to support her through that whole hard time, but she was also 100% gave back, and you just realize, like, this is so beyond basketball. This is about care and love and respect and, you know, putting life in perspective.
For me, I played at Western and I also coached with Carmen. I had a baby and Carmen was literally in the room with me when she was born. So when you say family, Carmen's definitely like family for me. But that whole team, I think we've all stayed in touch. Those are some of my closest friends. My best friends are the girls that I played with at Western.
We do win games here, but what's more important for Carmen is you as a person and how you're going to grow and what you're going to do in your life and how you're going to raise your kids. And it is so beyond the basketball floor for her that she just wants you to reach your potential.
The biggest accomplishment of Western basketball is what it's done to help women in their development as young women.
The word legacy comes from the Latin legace, which meant sending out a body of people on a mission. And I believe that women's basketball at Western speaks to that very thing. And I think the women who are part of that program in terms of alum are also a part of that legacy.
I could not imagine Western without women's basketball.
There's nothing like it, you know? Western basketball is so special, and I wouldn't be the woman I am today without it, without the people who shaped me at Western. And for that, I'm just so thankful.
Being away from it for the last several years, I really have been able to see the value of that team environment and the nurturing and the camaraderie and that's why I'm so excited about this reunion, is because it's going to be able to bring these people back together and reconnect on that really important level.
I've had an opportunity to get a college education and to travel the world because of basketball, and I really don't think I'd be in the place I am without it.
I think one of my favorite parts of my job is recruiting women to come. Getting them just on campus and meeting us and just talking with them about what they want out of their basketball and college experience. And then when they come in as these little 18-year-olds and watch them leave as 22-year-olds and strong and independent and ready to go, it's that whole full circle thing is just, it's what keeps me going. It's really special.
I had a rough time for a little while, you know, and but I'm so grateful because she pulled out the potential in me and really pushed me to my limits, and I think I'm a completely different person than I would have been without the program, for sure.
I think what being on the team has taught me about myself is that I can always do more than I think I can. All of a sudden you're raising the bar higher and higher for yourself.
The program just, it really somehow like finds the best in you and demands it.
When you're at a young age and you're in college and you're in it, you kind of think you've been giving it your all, and it takes someone to push you, and that's what this program did. It pushed me hard and it expected a lot from me, and now I expect a lot from myself.
It allowed me to go on and pursue things that maybe I thought I couldn't have done or wasn't encouraged to do in the past. Sort of come out knowing that I could do anything I wanted to do and pursue the things that I thought were really interesting.
When I first started out at Western, I was such a homebody, and I wasn't really sure about myself and what I wanted to do with my life, and I would go home all the time on the weekends, and then I kind of started to find like, you know, my passions and my groove a little bit, and then here I am at Western New Mexico University in Silver City, which is about 10,000 people, and I never would have gone off on my own and done anything like this before Western had such a big impact on me. I think the experience that I had, it inspired me so much because it impacted my life so much, and now I just want to give that back.
Kind of what Western women's basketball is about is it's not about yourself, it's not about personal accolades or how you do, it's about how the team does, both on and off the court. And I think that's what that tether is. From alumni kicking your butt to make you better when you're in the program, to supporting you the most amount that you can be supported, because they want you to be successful because you're part of this incredible program.
It's a really good feeling to know that I and everybody else in this program has a piece, have a piece of everybody, you know, kind of being passed down, and it's a really cool experience.
I think we want our alumni to feel like this is still their program and that they still have an influence on this program.
That coming together, and I think even coming together as alum, is about bringing that thread forward, and the modeling that the alumni have provided in their own personal lives of leadership, whether it's parenting, professional, whether it's volunteering in the community. This is a program that has a thread of leadership that is their legacy.
Go Vikings, Viking for life.